What's good, Des Moines? Welcome to another episode of Invitation by Invictus. Today we have the lovely Karla Walsh. We've been waiting to do this for quite some time.
Yes, now that I'm back alive, not frozen on the ice.
Yes.
And all in one piece. It's such an honor to be here.
Well, I appreciate you coming. You're so busy, and you are a world-class traveler, and you've got such a busy schedule that, I love inviting people that people know about or very little know about. And then we hope that this podcast gives them more room to be themselves. And then people really get that deep dive of who they are.
Yeah, I think that this is such an awesome opportunity for everyone that you have on. I've learned a lot listening to every episode and watching. So yeah. I'm honored to be here. And I do think I felt like up until a couple years and still now, I don't do the best job of explaining fully what I do.
Sure.
And it's kind of like a random mishmash. A lot of people just thought that I wrote for DSM, which is awesome, but
it's so much more.
So much more.
Yeah. So for the viewers out there that know of Karla Walsh, who is Karla Walsh? Where did you go? Kind of tell us where you grew up, because I think for a long time, I thought you were from New York, but then I found out that you're really from Iowa.
I am. Yes. So. I'm from the Quad Cities, born and raised.
Okay.
So Quad Cities pizza was like my childhood, Whitey's ice cream.
Yeah.
I went to Pleasant Valley and grew up in Bettendorf. I was very much a kid of the suburbs.
Sure.
You know, it's just like, we had a neighborhood where all the houses looked kind of similar. There was like a neighborhood pool, and it was just kind of like, it was easy, you know? And I always kind of resented it, because it's just like, well, we're going to Applebee's again, you know? It's just kind of like, this is so boring.
Yeah.
But then I went to college at Iowa State, and I decided to double major in magazine journalism and kinesiology, because I was like hell-bent on working at Fitness Magazine at the time. That was like my dream job.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was very, very driven. Like anything I set my mind to, I was like sure as hell gonna do it.
Yeah.
At the sacrifice of like everything else in my life,
sure.
You know? And so first that manifested as an eating disorder, which took over like my high school years, but like I was able to focus on that and getting good grades. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And then I went to college, and I was like mid-recovery-ish, but still not great. And so I was able to focus on the job that I wanted in school, and pretty much that's it. You know, I had zero fun, didn't date. I was like kind of just like trying to blend in, because I didn't know who I was. You know, I have time to search for that, because I was too focused on getting 4.0 and going to every single class. And so, you know, there's pros and cons to that. Like I would have done it differently if I could do it again, but I can't say that I regret it, because I got the job that I wanted. You know, it's just like I got so many great things as a result of that. It took me a lot longer to kind of figure out who I was. But, you know, by the time I graduated in 2010, I had a job offer in New York.
Okay.
And I had already interned there for a summer.
And that was which magazine?
Fitness.
It was Fitness.
It was it, you know.
So it happened.
It happened.
You manifested it, and it happened.
Yeah. Okay. I worked my tail off in college. You know, like I moved up from working at the newspaper to being the editor-in-chief of the magazine, to then one of my advisors connected me with this national magazine internship program. Where I moved out to New York and got matched with Fitness. And so I had worked for them already for 3 months. Their entry-level job person was leaving, and it was like in the middle of the recession, you know, like when a lot of the New York media world was kind of just putting hiring on pause. And I was like, I have to take this job. You know? Like I'm moving out to New York. This is everything I ever dreamed of.
A once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. And like, what a gift.
Sure.
So I was like, oh my gosh, everything is happening.
Yeah.
You know, this is it. Yeah. This is what I've been waiting for 22 years of my life. Yeah. Right? So I move out to New York. I live in Jamaica, Queens.
Nice.
And get like a studio apartment that's like 385 square feet.
Yeah. Like, which is like $1,000.
Oh, it was like $1,300 at the time. And it was like, I was like sleeping in my kitchen. It was totally different. And like my mom had shipped out like 2 boxes of my stuff, and like I just found that place and I like bought everything else at IKEA on like a trip by myself and was just like, well, let's figure it out. You know? That's kind of the mindset that I approach everything in life. It's just like, I have all the skill. My parents taught me that I have everything I need in my toolkit to just figure it out.
For sure.
So as foolish as that can be sometimes, you know, like I probably didn't like be the safest that I could have been. You know, I probably was like walking around at times that I shouldn't have. I was just like, it's going to be fine. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So I love the job, but again, I had nothing outside of work. And, you know, that's kind of what the work atmosphere is like in New York. You know, you're expected to be the first one in and the last one out.
Yeah.
And as
it's a grind.
It's such a grind. And as much as it was amazing to go to workouts with celebrity trainers or fly out to LA with Adidas and have like a duffel bag waiting for you and Santa Monica at this bougie hotel for you to do workouts with Tom Cruise's like Mission Impossible trainer and just like test their gear.
Yeah.
Like it was so amazing and beyond what I ever could have dreamed of work-wise. But again, I was just like, I got to the top of this mountain. I'm looking around and I should be so happy.
Okay.
But I'm miserable.
Why?
I was just like, I can't just be my job. I can't there's nothing else. I feel so lonely.
Yeah. Isolated.
I don't know who I am. And like, as much as I enjoy the work that I create, what else is important to me?
Sure.
You know, like what if I get fired?
Yeah.
That happens all the time in the publishing industry,
yeah.
you know? And so I was there for 2 years and I loved the people that I worked with. They became my family away from my family.
Yeah.
And I loved everything that I created for that brand. But I was just like, I feel like there's something else out there that like I haven't pursued yet. And I know that this isn't it. And I've stayed here for 2 years. I gave it the old college try, but I was flying back from visiting my family for Christmas before like I made this decision. I was just like, I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. I didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
So anyways, I went into my boss's office and I started crying. And I was just like, can I do this from the Des Moines office? Because I know that Meredith has an office there.
Yeah.
And this was, you know, pre-pandemic when everybody was telecommuting and doing all of the things.
Yes.
And so they were just like, no, you can't. But you can continue doing the columns that you have made your own while you're here. Like there was 1 or 2 things that they were willing to give me freelance style. And they were just like, we'll put in a good word for you at the Des Moines office, which was so generous.
Sure.
So I moved here again, not knowing a soul, having a couple boxes to ship here.
Okay.
And didn't have a place to live either. So I lived with my grandma for a while and just like figured it out, you know? So I get here and I'm doing a temp job. So I gave up my dream job. I'm answering Facebook messages from like Martha in Kansas who got her magazine delivered ripped. And she just needed somebody to complain to. So it's humbling to say the least.
Yeah.
But it was really good for me because at that time I was able to like set some boundaries around work. And for once I wasn't just my job. You know, like
you weren't living for the job.
Yeah. I did a good job. Like, and I always asked for more, but I left it 4:30 or 5, like whenever I was supposed to, right? Yeah. Because I had this freelance thing and I was trying to build some friendships. So it just kind of ballooned from there. Was, you know, within a year they had created a position for me.
Okay.
And my freelancing was nights, you know, and weekends as I felt inspired. And, you know, in the magazine industry, editors move a lot. And so it's, an editor from fitness would move to women's health or to shape. And they'd be like, hey, like you were great to work with. Would you come work with me over here? And so that was growing on the side while I was kind of moving up in the ranks at Meredith full time, mostly in the digital space.
Sure.
So I went from...
Because that was like what, 2013? 2014?
Yeah.
That's when I started at Men's Health because they started pulling everything out of the print world and putting it on the digial space. Yeah.
And I was like one of the early adopters at fitness that really started. I taught all the editors how to create a Twitter account and like helped contribute to the blog all the time, you know? And so it was kind of a natural fit for me to pivot into that. So I was a digital cross-brand writer. Since I had editorial skills, I would write Facebook posts for parents and a bunch of different brands. And then I became editor of recipe.com.
Yeah.
And this was kind of in tandem with my own kind of reconciliation and passion for food kind of coming to life. And that was in part to the Des Moines restaurant community. I finally had time to go out and explore. And they were the ones that were really there for me when I needed to fill my time after I didn't work out all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the safe space to land when I needed a hobby and I knew it couldn't be running anymore.
Yeah.
And so that became more of a passion. So I started writing or being in charge of recipe.com. And then I ran Better Homes and Gardens social media for a couple of years. And then my last full-time job was an associate digital food editor with BHG.com. So I was like helping do the hands in hand videos and develop recipes with the test kitchen, creating lots of slideshows and stories. And I loved it, but I was getting to the point where my freelance stuff was booming so much. You know, I sent in cold pitches to places, you know, that I had a year where I was Des Moines Register's restaurant reviewer. Like it was just like this random array of things that I always say that I find ways to get paid to research and write about things that I'm passionate about naturally, which is such a gift.
Right.
But that was getting to the point where, you know, I could see it being a business, but I'd always said that I was going to wait until I was married.
Okay.
And was just like, this is, you know, I'm too afraid to pay for my own benefits. And like, what, I don't have a check coming in every 2 weeks.
Right.
What is going to happen?
Right.
You know,
taking that giant risk.
Yeah. I was just coming at it from like a very scarcity mindset. And so I took my first international trip, which was one of the things on my bucket list. I created a bucket list after I got hit by a car. And that was the linchpin to stopping running all the time and starting to get a life.
So you got hit by a car running?
I was walking home from work. One of the things that I decided when I moved from New York to Des Moines was that I wanted to live close enough that my commute wouldn't take up my whole life.
Yeah.
And so I moved downtown and I loved walking to work. And I like wear my headphones like this and I was listening to the Justin Timberlake 2020 album. Dating myself. And I was like walking across the street to pack for a marathon that I trained for Above and Beyond Cancer.
Yes.
And it was just like the strangest thing. It's like this guy didn't see me in the crosswalk. And like I didn't see him. It was one of the situations where it was like a green but yield to pedestrians moment.
Yes.
And he just kind of clipped my foot and knocked me backwards.
Oh my God.
So I broke my elbow and 4 bones in my opposite foot.
Yeah.
And it was so painful, but it was honestly one of the best things that's ever happened to me because it forced me to realize that life was short and I'd wasted already a decade of my life trying to starve myself down into nothing. And my main hobby was always working out. And so this was a really good moment to realize that life was short. I needed to create a bucket list and start doing something different than the same thing every day.
Okay.
And then I needed to kind of expand my horizons and see what was out there. Restaurants, the world.
Okay.
So the bucket list manifested from that. And I took an international trip solo
to
Costa Rica.
Oh.
Which was lovely.
Yes.
You know, a good dip the toe in.
Yeah.
My friend Whitney Schindler of Undiscovered Sunsets is the most amazing travel advisor. And so I trusted her to plan it to a T. I sent my parents my itinerary. It was like, okay, I'm off. And
how long were you gone?
I was gone for like a week.
Okay.
It was right after I finished co-chairing the United Way campaign at Meredith, which was an $800,000 fundraiser on top of doing
Karla.
my day job and helping to run this influencer event that we would do every year out in New York, and then also freelancing. And I was in a relationship that was kind of crumbling at the time. So it was just an important reset.
Sure.
You know, and I had a week by myself to do nothing but be 100% selfish. Like, what do I want to do today?
For sure.
And I remember on the last day before I was flying out, I was like, what am I excited to get back to? You know, like this was wonderful. But the great thing about Des Moines was it finally felt like home. And I'm always excited to come back.
Yeah.
But I was excited to come back most of all to send in new pitch ideas and for the freelance work that I was doing and to see my friends and all these other things, not so much the day job anymore.
Sure.
And I was just like, what am I waiting for? I can travel the world by myself. I can move to New York and back by myself. I can accomplish everything that I've accomplished already, and I didn't need a man to do that. Why am I waiting for this being the one thing that I put an asterisk on and say that you're not good enough to do this by yourself? And so I came back and I waited about a week, and I couldn't sleep because I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah.
I looked at healthcare.gov. It wasn't as bad as I thought to buy my own insurance. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. Like, if I don't make enough money, I can get another job, but I'm going to regret it if I don't try.
For sure.
So I asked my boss if we could have a meeting, and I was just like, I am so grateful for every experience that I've had here. I have had the best cross training ever, and I've loved everyone that I've worked with and what we've created, but I have this other, opportunity that I want to explore. Yeah. Because they knew that I was doing this on nights and weekends, and they were so generous to be supportive of that. I just felt like it was only making me better at my day job because I was just practicing more. Yeah. And so I put in my notice and said that I would stay through the end of the year and help train the next person. And if they would still want me as a contributor, I would love to. I would require zero training, and could just jump in day one and still be contributing to them, but also to a variety of other brands. So that was when my freelance career started. And that was January 1st, 2019. And now 4.5 years later.
You're still going.
Still going. What's
it been like? I mean, is it what you think?
It's better than I ever could have imagined.
There you go.
Yeah. I never would have thought that I could have a byline in Time or be writing headlines and decks for all recipes in the same week that I'm writing feature stories for Eating Well. And the diversity of projects that I work on, the people that I'm able to interview about their life's work and have the honor of telling their stories. It's such a gift. And I'm able to mix up my projects so that I can use different parts of my brain. And so when there's days when I'm not feeling super creative, I have some projects that I can do and kind of clip away on. Yeah. And I'm able to negotiate for the first time in my life and learn how to be my own boss and set boundaries and set up a life where when I go on vacation, I can actually be on vacation and not worry about having a million emails pile up because I know how to communicate in advance and be like, here, I am at your service for the next 2 months. I'm at your service for the next 1 month. Yes. 2-week warning, 1 week warning. Okay, I'm out of office. Please don't email me. And I'm able to set up my life in a way where it's just much less anxiety provoking and much more inspiring. There's just, I wake up in the morning and I'm so excited.
Karla, it sounds like everything that you said, honestly, it sounds like for the first time in your life, you could focus on you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so very valid. Yeah. I could finally direct my own ship rather than constantly, Whitney Warren has taught me that I'm an Enneagram 2. And so,
the helper,
a social 2, right? Okay. So I like a crowd. I like to make sure that everybody's taken care of. But when I can be my own boss and work from home and just focus on using my skills to hopefully uplift, elevate, educate others in some way, but on my own terms, life is a lot less stressful.
Well,
it makes a bigger impact.
On your own terms, with your own boundaries.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge of it too.
Yeah.
Is creating those boundaries and living inside of them and being okay with the result of that.
Right. So that was really hard for me because, like I said, I love to do the most. And when I had some opportunities and was coming at this from a scarcity mindset at the start of my business, it was like, okay, well, I've built up all of this momentum. This is so exciting. People are coming and asking me to do all this work. Day one, I had work to do, which was such a blessing. But I had also been building this for 6 years. Yeah. And so I keep getting more and more opportunities, and I kept taking and taking and taking and creating, right? I was really proud of the work that I was creating, and I was just like, I better strike while the iron's hot, right? Now's the time. Because who knows what tomorrow's going to bring.
True. It's true, but I think you've built enough relationships over the years that you've become to be very trustworthy and reliable.
But I didn't trust that yet.
You didn't trust yourself in that aspect.
Exactly. So I had to hire a business coach because I realized that I was running my business like I ran my life when I was sick with my eating disorder, and like I ran my life when I was in New York. It was just kind of like vice gripping and trying to do more each day, each month. You know, like I was like, okay, well, I made this much in March. I got to make more in April. It's the same idea that I had when I was really sick. It was just like, it felt like winning to eat a little bit less than I did the day before. And I don't know, it was just like a twisted kind of goal that I had set, that I just constantly needed to be moving up, doing better, whatever that meant. And better at the time meant more money at the sacrifice, again, of, you know, joy, flexibility, relationships.
Yeah, your own happiness.
Exactly. Yeah. So my business coach helped me realize that, like, I felt like I was living a B+ life when I had all these opportunities and so many things in my life that were moving on an A path. And I was just feeling like I was missing something. And so she helped me realize that I was overextending myself because I wasn't quite sure on my core values and who I was as a person outside of the work that I was creating.
Yeah.
I was kind of there, but kind of fuzzy. And so I was just still searching and taking on too much to try to fill those holes.
Yeah.
Because it was scary to have that open space. And so I did a lot of deep work with her and my therapist and figured out that these were the things that really mattered to me. These are the things that are worthy of my yes, and everything else is a no.
Yeah.
And that changed the way that I show up in work and life so immensely. You know, it helped me realize what really matters. Like, to me, it's curiosity, which is great. And I can tap into that for work. It's community, though. So, like, I need to show up for my people.
Yeah.
It's health. So I need to not be working all the time.
Correct.
It's connections, it's vulnerability, it's sharing more, it's learning more, it's teaching people things. It all boils down to, like, connection.
Yeah.
You know? And I was detaching from that through my work. And so it was just super helpful to realize that.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, you were detaching it through your work?
Detaching from the people in my life that were really like in the inner circle. I was connecting with millions of people, right?
Right, because you're always out and about.
And I'm always writing stuff that are getting millions of eyeballs, and that's so cool. But I also need to have that same connection with the people that are, like, really important to me, and with myself.
Sure.
And so that's what I've really been diving into.
So you were missing those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were just so caught up in your work.
In creating. Because I loved it, you know? And so it's just kind of a slippery slope of how much is enough and how much is too much.
I think that's part of a creative's problem, truthfully. You know, I think as a creative, we spend so much time problem solving everybody else's problems. We forget about the things that are going on in our lives.
Right. And I'm constantly, like, I never have a hard time, knock on wood, writing or finding the creative juice to get going. And so it always feels fun. So it's really hard to turn it off.
Sure.
When I have so many stories that I can tell and help so many other people, whether it's the experts that I'm able to put on a platform and share their knowledge, or the stories of inspiration that I can tell, or the whatever education factor that I can share through my content. And so it's kind of finding that happy medium. For once in my life, it's just like
1,000%
comfortable living in the gray.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and just always making sure that you're making yourself a priority.
Yeah.
I think we forget about those things as well.
And not being so hard on ourselves.
Correct. Correct. Are you a 3 as well?
I have some 3 tendencies in me as well.
Yep. You will sit down until it's done. That's Hunter. So
It's an interesting mishmash. I also have some 9 and 7. So I've been working on, like, really getting the 9 out of me.
Being more assertive.
Yes.
Okay.
Being better with confrontation.
Sure.
And negotiation has been really good about that as part of my new role.
Because it forces you.
Oh, totally. And you have to be your own advocate as an entrepreneur, I think, in a way that
100%
you don't in the corporate world. So that's been actually really fun.
Yeah.
It's just like, I kind of feel like it's been a whole new journey. But one of the latest things that I've really loved is that since I went on that business coaching process, I launched a newsletter that earns me $0, and I'm able to kind of compile my brand and elevate it and share the news in the way that I want to.
Sure.
And I also launched a coaching kind of side for people who I can hopefully get to the point where they can create their own content, and I can share job opportunities with them and kind of pay it forward so that like, I don't need this all. Like, this is great pizza. Let's all create some slices. Here, have some. I can't, nor should I be doing all this work.
Again, I think that's another piece of being a creative is taking what you know that you can do and then passing off what somebody else could do as well.
So rewarding.
Yeah, it really is.
That's what you're building with Invictus, which is so cool to see.
I would say, yeah. I mean, that's why I have these guys here is because, I'm just essentially teaching them what I learned in corporate America myself.
Yeah.
And then now just doing it, I feel like in a better aspect.
Right.
So,
and it's such a rewarding mix, right? That you can still create some too.
Yes.
While passing it on. And I think they both just bring me so much joy.
It's a bucket filler. You know what I mean? I don't think people really realize that why it's so important to have that on the back end of like what you're creating, right? Can I create and still give?
Yeah, absolutely. So. And I think it snowballs in such a good way at that point where I feel like the more that I pass along to others, the more it opens up space for even greater opportunities for me too. Yeah. And the more I just feel so aligned. Like I have days where I call my mom after having a couple good coaching sessions or being able to use my connections to be able to just like plug them into work. There's no better feeling than that. Yeah. I just like call her and just like start beaming of just like, today was a really good day.
Yeah.
Because like I have built this for 15 years and now I'm not only able to enjoy and fully appreciate every part of it myself, I'm able to pass it on to so many other people. Right. And it's just like, this is awesome.
But that's also being a good leader.
Yeah.
And a good person in the community, which you're up there. So I think it's easy, I think it's easy for you to do it because, it's just such a giant passion of yours.
And that's very, very kind. I have never thought of myself as a leader. I just feel like we're all just kind of figuring this out as we go along. But
your experiences and what you've lived through and the lessons that you've learned from them is what's developed inside of you.
Yeah. And taking time to reflect on that and pull the pieces together, which I think writing allows me to do. I've taken so many of my life, my whole life's on the internet because I feel like that is where I can bring out my curiosity core values. Just like everything is a potential story opportunity. And I think that makes you view the world with such a compassionate and open lens rather than a critical one.
Well, I think you've embraced your vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're okay with it too. Whereas a lot of people, like I'm an 8.
Yeah.
Vulnerability for us is an uncomfortable situation. But doing uncomfortable things makes you a better person.
Oh, totally. And it makes other people feel less alone.
Yes.
I had a weird spa-related injury a couple weeks ago where I went and got my eyebrows waxed. And a couple days later, my eye blew up the size of like a golf ball, right? And so I wake up. First, I like kind of freak out. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I dying? And then I remember like, okay, there's 24/7 urgent care. And like while I'm in the car driving there, trying not to freak out, I'm like, this is a story idea. So I'm sitting in the waiting room, like taking photos of my eye, being like, okay, I need to capture the content so that I can write a story about it so it doesn't happen to someone else. Rather than being like, that meanie, what did she do to my eye?
Yeah.
I was like, this is a learning experience that we can all grow through. Like, let's make this better so that it doesn't happen to someone else.
Life's half full, then half empty.
Half full. Totally. It's 98% full.
We just have to look at it like that.
Exactly. I don't see the benefit in looking at it from the opposite view.
Good for you. And there needs to be more people like you in the world.
You're very kind.
Well, Calvin has flashed the on-air sign. So, and he flashed it a while ago. So, but I ignored him. It did. Karla, I would love for you to come back because I feel like we can just continue to talk stories and create.
We could talk for days.
Yes, for sure.
I would love that.
Okay. So if a person is interested in your services, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram. That's the social media platform that I'm most active on. Karla S. Walsh.
Yes.
They can find my website, which is just karlawalsh.com.
Correct.
And then I'm also on Substack.
Okay.
So you can find it's karlawalsh.substack.com.
Okay. So if you guys are interested in getting some coaching assistance, right, from Karla,
just reading some fun stories
or anything like that, check out all of Karla's platforms. But we already flash all of that inside of here. So Karla, again, thank you so much for coming in. Such a joy. I just love talking to you and listening to you.
Likewise.
Yes. Okay, gang, check out karlawalsh.com. She is the bomb.com. All right. We out.